Run It Studios is the home of the Run Radio podcast and runradio.net, a podcast and station about the relentless, resilient, and innovative types, inspiring strides in life, business, and beyond. Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. My name is Trina Wilcox, and Run Radio is all about persistence, resilience, tenacity. And when it comes to relationships, you need to have all of those components. So I'm glad our guest today can talk a little bit about how we can do that better. Cara Nitz, you are a founder of The Way for Love. Tell me what that is and what you do.
Yeah, so my husband and I we both created a marriage course. We wanted to give people not just a few tips on marriage, but we wanted to really get into the nitty gritty, help them find the roots of what's going on that's causing disconnection in their marriage, that's causing hurt, painful conflict, things like that. And so we created this comprehensive course where we talk about everything from getting your needs met and codependency to healthy communication and conflict, forgiveness, intimacy and sex, so many different things so that we can really help couples to learn the things that really make their marriage go round. We don't get a guide when we get married on our wedding day on how to have a healthy marriage. And so that's kind of what this is.
What do you think is the number one misconception that people have of marriage and relationships in general?
Mm-hmm. Probably that it shouldn't take that much work, or it's gonna go smoothly. And the thing is, when you bring in two people who are from completely different backgrounds, people who have wounds, past hurts, past pain that they're bringing in that maybe is unhealed and they don't even fully understand it, and then communication styles. It's a lot of work. It takes work. And yeah, sometimes when you're not sure how to work through these things, it can feel draining. It can feel really hard. And that's why we want to provide solutions to help couples so that it goes a little bit more smoothly, so that it's not so hard, not so frustrating.
When do you think is a good time for when people are getting to know each other, they have a new relationship? How long and how serious do you think they should be before they start thinking about bringing a counselor in or getting guided on their journey in a relationship partnership together?
Hmm. So are you talking about before they're married even?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that anytime you're in a relationship, I actually have people who are learning from us who are not married yet. And I think that is so wise because anytime you're in a relationship, you're still dealing with the same things, whether you're married and living together, that just kind of amplifies things, right? You have kids, that amplifies things, but even in a relationship where you're just dating, those things are still present. Those conflicts, the communication, the need for forgiveness, all of that is still present and needs attention.
What are some good things for people to look for to find the best fit for them when it comes to relationship advice?
Hmm. When you're looking for relationship advice or guidance, counseling, coaching, um, I would say that the number one thing is for the coach, the counselor to have experience in this themselves. So my husband and I, we do marriage coaching because we have walked through really a lot of pain in our past from day one on our marriage. Actually, our honeymoon was kind of a disaster, and we have had to walk through some really really hard times. And we always wondered, like, why are we going through this? But we felt like God wanted to use our growth and our struggles for more than just our own marriage, but that He wanted to use that to help others. And so I think that's a big thing, is when you've walked through things yourself, you can speak to how to work through that and how to grow through that in a way that someone who hasn't walked through it themselves can't speak to. Knowledge can only take you so far, but the experience, I think, adds a whole new level.
You are a faith-based business. What's that do for you and your clients that other places that don't focus on that can't do?
Hmm. Well, I think one of the things and this is the biggest thing really, is that we invite so much love in. It's all about agreeing with the love that God has for you. And that goes so far in marriage because it's all about that commitment to choose your husband or your wife every day, and to choose to love them. Love is not necessarily just a feeling, but it is really a choice. And so when you are feeling so loved by God and you know that, and you're inviting that in and you're experiencing that, then you're able to give that love so much better to your spouse. It's when we're empty, when we don't see how God's meeting our needs. We don't see how he's loving us. We don't feel that. That's when we start to act out of an empty place where we have that emptiness and we're trying to fill it, but we don't know how to fill it. You can show up totally differently when you have that emptiness filled with God's love.
Tell me a little bit about what a session would be like for a couple when they come to you. Or is it all
Mhm.
online? Do they come see you in person? Do you just have workshops? Tell me about everything you do.
So yeah, so far it is all online. We're exploring doing some in-person coaching um at a local church right now, but so far it is all online. And so you can do a session, like a wife can do a session with just me, a husband can do a session with my husband, or we can do a couple session. And we like to just hear where they're coming from first, really get clarity on what's going on. We like to validate them, offer compassion, offer that love, like I said, is so important. And then we work through what is really at the root of this. We want to dig deeper. And that's what I love about coaching, is that we can really help ask questions to get to the root of it, and to get clarity and to help them to really solve their own issues. When we're able to help them dig deeper, then we believe that that can help them to come up with solutions themselves.
Have you seen a more common issue among couples than anything else that people come to you with?
Yeah. One of the biggest issues is just communication. In which so often leads to conflict, right? Because when we're having a hard time communicating, when we don't know how to practice effective communication and active listening, um, it just amps up, the emotions rise up, and then before we know it, it's gotten ugly and we're feeling disconnected. And that is probably the number one issue that we see.
It sometimes seems like there's also a lot of self work that goes into being a better communicator with your partner. Do you find that very important?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We believe that in marriage, really, you want to focus on your own growth first, right? It's very easy to say, well, he isn't doing this. Well, this is the way he always acts. But when we focus and we do the inner reflection and the inner work, we're the only ones who can heal the hurts inside of us. As much as I want to, I can't heal my husband's issues, right? I just can't. But I can work on myself and my understanding and my listening and my communication, so that together, I can support him in his growth, he can support me in my growth, and then we can stay connected through all of it.
What's something you and your husband do to keep your marriage on a good path and check in with each other?
So, well, we have, because I'm at home with our 5 kids and he's working. He is a master plumber, and also he's also a master plumber. Um, and so we're not together a lot during the day. And so we have communication checkpoints, we call them, where we are just checking in throughout the day. We know that we're going to have another checkpoint at a certain time. So, like in the morning, right away after he leaves for work, he immediately sends me a voice text. We talk about our mornings a little bit. We check in on how we're feeling. Around noon, then we send another one. Before he gets home from work, we send another one. And then when he does get home, we spend some time, even though we do have 5 kids and a homestead, we spend time alone together, just checking in again. And we just feel like that communication is so important in keeping connected.
You brought up a very important point, and something a lot of families deal with. One, two, five more kids. Attention's getting pulled several directions. So, what are some tips that you can give to a couple that is just struggling to stay afloat?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, so the first thing is to once again focus on what you can control, right? And you want to prioritize the marriage. I think a lot of times as parents, we end up prioritizing our kids. We think, well, they're defenseless or they have needs that, they can't fill themselves because they're not an adult. And that is very true. But your marriage, you committed to your husband before you committed to your kids, right? And so and your husband hopefully will be there long after your kids grow up and leave. And so you want to prioritize your marriage. Not that you're ignoring your children or anything like that, but there's a way to prioritize your marriage, like our communication checkpoints, or we like to have a non-negotiable date night every single week, whether it's at home or away. But we are prioritizing our intimacy, we're prioritizing our connection, having fun together, and that is so key, is to prioritize the relationship, but then also really work on what you can work on, which is yourself.
When you have those date nights at home, do you send the kids somewhere else or are they just in another room? How is that working?
That's a great question. So it was harder when our kids were littler. Now our oldest is 16, and so he can kind of keep a rein. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We have date nights where we are leaving every, 10 minutes to go say, "What is going on, you guys?" But we're up in our bedroom, they're downstairs, and so we try to have as much peace and connection as we can, but there's definitely still disruptions.
Do you do family sessions or is it mostly just partnerships that you work on?
Ye- yeah, we focus on the couple. That's our specialty.
Do you think it's important for couples to change the way they're communicating with their kids to have a healthier relationship than we've kind of learned growing up, like don't say anything, it'll be fine. How can we be better as a family unit?
Oh, absolutely. I think things are changing in that realm. I was not taught emotional intelligence at all as a child. And so that's actually made it harder in marriage because I don't even know what I'm feeling sometimes. So to express that, um, that can be a challenge in and of itself. So I think it is so important to teach our children that their emotions matter, that it's okay to feel them, that we love them no matter how they act, no matter how they feel. That love, compassion, validation, that's so key to give to our kids and to give to ourselves and to give to our spouse. That's one of the key things that we like to talk about is offering love, compassion, and validation.
You brought up something that resonated with me. And you said, sometimes I don't even know how I feel. And I get that because there are times when conflict arises and, maybe me or my husband were like, well, I want to give you what you need. What do you want? What do you need? And I'm
Yeah.
at a loss. So what do you recommend for people that sometimes we don't even know what we need to ask for, because that would smooth out the problem right there, but we don't even know, we can't recognize it.
Yeah, I think that's where you take a little break, right? I like to teach my clients, you know, just kind of get in your own body, right? Take a deep breath. I like to put my hand on my heart and just feel my body for a second and just like what is that emotion? And if I'm having really a struggle with identifying what it is, then I will there are feelings wheels, they're called. You can Google it even, and you can kind of get an idea of like all these different emotions, and then maybe even like, oh, okay, yes, I realize I'm frustrated. That's the emotion. I didn't know what to name it, but to name it and allow yourself to feel it, that's also going to give you insight then on what you need. Maybe you're frustrated, so you need to vent. Maybe not vent to your husband. Maybe you're venting, in your journal, or you're venting, just out loud to, whoever. But to get that out, that could be the need that you have. Maybe you need some quiet time. Maybe you need to go for a walk, right? But when you first identify what is the emotion that I'm feeling, that's going to give you insight then on what you need.
Good stuff. Let's talk about some of your workshops that you've done and that you have coming up. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, so we have our Healing Your Marriage course, and then we also have different master classes. We did a master class. Well, actually, that one was just me. I did a master class on intimacy, on sex and intimacy for wives, but also I know husbands were watching as well, and wives were sharing with their husbands because it was, everything's connected. And so that was really a powerful master class. I think a lot of times women there's a lot of misconceptions out there about intimacy and sex. And our goal is for both men and women to enjoy sex every time, and for them to also enjoy that emotional intimacy that's needed before physical intimacy. And then coming up December 5th, my husband and I, were doing a conflict to connection masterclass where we are really diving deeper into communication, the differences between how men and women communicate. We're going to be talking about how to process the big emotions that can come up sometimes in conflict, how to process your own, but also how to validate and appreciate your spouse's feelings. And then we're also teaching our 3 steps to healthy conflict so that you can practice that over and over, because conflict actually is good for marriage. It's actually helpful for growth and connection. It's the unhealthy conflict that leads to disconnection and so much pain. So we want to teach people how to have conflict in a healthy way.
Good. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like very useful stuff everybody can use and grow from. What is something that when couples get to sadly the breaking point, what
Hmm.
is something that you could offer them hope for and something they can do to do everything they can to make sure they're giving each other the most and best
Hmm.
hope in that
So
relationship?
yeah, yeah. I mean, so we have actually been there. We've been, and that's why I feel so strongly about the work we do, because we've been to such a low point. We are committed forever, but even we were at this point where we're like, we need to separate because this is just, I can't take this anymore.
Mhm.
And so I want to say, hold on to hope, right? I believe that, and this is something that makes our whole belief in course unique, is that we believe that God is doing the transformation, that He wants to transform your marriage, but He obviously is work. It takes work from both people, and so if you're both still committed, ask each other, are you still committed? And maybe they need a little space to process emotion, but if both people are still committed, there is still hope. And one of our modules in our course is about inner healing. And I think that's really the best place to start, is like, what is going on inside of me? What are these hurts that I have brought in, or that I've walked through in this marriage, that have now affected how I show up? And now I look at my husband with contempt every time because I just have lost complete respect for him, right? If that is what's happening, then we got to go in and we got to heal the wounding and the pain that's there. And so when both spouse is working on that individually, there is so much hope for healing, and there's so much hope for coming back together. But I think that's the place to start.
Great stuff. Well, if somebody's ready to do the work, how can they sign up for your workshop?
Yeah, so you can go to the Way for Love, www.thewayforlove.com. That's where you can get our course. You can also find our intimacy masterclass there, and you can do individual coaching or couples coaching. But if you want to sign up for our conflict to connection masterclass, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at cara.nitz. And the link is right in my bio.
All right. Thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Thank you.
You can follow along and catch up on past episodes by subscribing, and always link over to whichever platform you want to watch and listen from runradio.net.